Meu nome é Carlos Henrique Cantu, bem-vindo ao Developers.Pub. E aí pessoal, como é que vocês estão? Espero que estejam todos bem. Bem-vindos ao primeiro episódio do Developers.Pub, uma série de entrevistas que eu vou fazer com os principais core developers do Firebird. E quem sabe se o projeto for bem, se vocês gostarem, eu estendo isso também para outros desenvolvedores que tenham coisas legais para compartilhar, para contar para a gente. O primeiro entrevistado vai ser o Dmitry Yemanov, ele é chefe da equipe de desenvolvimento do Firebird. E a ideia é a gente ter uma conversa informal, como se estivesse aí num bar, num pub, tomando uma cerveja, trocando ideia e falando da vida. Espero que vocês gostem, curtam o vídeo, assinem o canal e deixem seus comentários. Um abraço, vamos lá. Hi Dmitry, how are you doing?
Hi Carlos, fine, thank you. How are you?
I'm fine too. Well, at home, right?
Yeah, the same here.
Yeah. So Dmitry, what can you tell us about yourself? How old are you? Where do you live? Do you have kids?
Well, I'm 42. I was born, yeah, a little bit older, not a kid. I was born in Riga, formerly USSR, now it's Latvia. Then I moved to Russia, Penza city, and I have finished the university here, and I started my professional career here. And actually, the rest of my life was spent in Penza, and most of that life is devoted to development Firebird. Actually,
Great.
almost 20 years, yeah.
20 years, cool. Do you have one kid?
Yes, one kid. He's a son, 6 years old.
And I have some questions that people sent to me, so I will ask some of them, and we can drink along the chat. So the idea is like if we were in a pub. Yeah, I have mine too. And an FDD glass.
Cheers.
Cheers. So, you have been in Brazil 2 times, right?
Yes, 2 times.
Yes, it's in 2015 and 2008 for the Firebird Developers Day, right?
Right.
And so, what memories you have about the time you spent here?
Oh, very good time actually, especially my first visit, because it was the first time I was in South America and then Brazil in particular. So actually quite, well, somewhat exotic country for us Russians. But I really enjoyed that it happened during your winter, because it was really comfortable weather for me, because, well, we have some hot times during summer in Russia, but not that hot as you do.
Yeah. Especially in winter, hot in winter. It's it's something
really comfortable.
Great.
And I like the country, and we have visited a few cities, and enjoyed sightseeing, and I enjoyed actually the university. We had the conference within, so it was really great experience, great times. I hope to see Brazil again sometime in the future.
Sure, we will come back. And I remember an episode that happened in the first time you came to Brazil.
Yes, it was a little accident, quite surprising, but well.
And it was your birthday.
It was just a small accident, actually, just scared a little.
Yeah, the mosquito.
But some local Brazilian bug.
Yeah.
But unexpectedly, it caused some allergic response of my body, so I had to go to the hospital and, well, to take some cure for this problem. But everything was fine. Especially was funny because it was my birthday.
Yeah.
Everyone was drinking, and you and me were
Yeah. It was almost the same for me. Actually, I didn't participate in the party because I had to organize a conference. So I left you in the hotel after going to the hospital. And the next day you told me that there was a huge party, but you could not drink anything because of the medication, right? And do you still enjoy photography, taking pictures?
Yes, but to a less degree recently, because some of my priorities have switched and just I don't have too much spare time for that.
Ah.
But I still hope that it will change and I will have more time for photography in the future.
Do you remember what was your first computer? Did you start with a PC?
Oh, well, it wasn't PC. It was, well, it actually was a Soviet manufactured computer. I just don't know if anyone outside Russia and USSR have an experience with that mark, so I don't think I should name it. Well, it wasn't PDP-11, no, it was more modern, but it still wasn't PC. But actually, it was in the school. And as soon as I went to the university, we already have, of course, PCs there. So it was just a regular computer.
Okay.
Everybody knows.
And what operating systems did it run? DOS?
It was initially Windows 3.1.
Then Windows.
Yes, Windows NT4, and then others and others.
Okay, well, it started with Windows. You are too young. I'm older than you. So
I haven't seen it.
Great. And what was the first language, computer language you learned?
Well, in school it was BASIC. In the universities was Pascal.
Okay.
Actually, in the last two courses, we were learning C. Well, C++ already existed at that time, but it wasn't learned at the course, in my course. And actually, we were learning assembler as well. And my graduation work was developed in both C and assembler language.
Okay, and what one do you enjoy more, coding?
Assembler was really good. I liked it. But I realized that the complex piece of software is just too long to develop in that way. So actually, I enjoyed both C and Pascal because then I have switched from Pascal to Delphi.
Okay.
And of course, it just couldn't be compared with Turbo C or Turbo Pascal environment when development IDE applications. And any kind of graphic user interface and so on. So actually, I enjoyed Delphi a lot. And my first jobs were really linked to Delphi. It was Delphi 1, Delphi 2, Delphi 3, and so on from the very beginning. And the first few years of my career, I was a Delphi developer.
Oh, great. Okay. Sometimes I wonder if Firebird was coded in Pascal, do you think we would have more developers participating in the actually coding of Firebird?
Well, maybe, because, you know, we have, well, the whole world had a lot of Delphi developers, but not that many experienced C developers, C++ developers.
Yes.
So actually, yes, it could be possible. But you know that system software is usually written in C. All complex systems, operating systems, database systems, and so on. So it was natural, and it was just actually, we are speaking about some miracle because we have inherited the code base from Borland and it was already written in C. So actually we just have no chances to rewrite it from scratch. It was absolutely, maybe not impossible, but it didn't make any sense. I was lucky enough because I really liked coding in C in the university, and then I just tried to remember that language when dealing with the first source code. It wasn't Firebird, it was Interbase 6, you know. My job that time, we were developing kind of accounting and HR software. We were selling existing applications for the big customers, but we had an idea to develop a small application for the local market. small and medium business in our city and our region. So we just needed to develop the software. Okay, Delphi is good here, but what database should be chosen? And exactly that time, Borland has open sourced interface. And for us, it was just extremely well prepared present, because it was just a gift, because, you know, local markets, people don't have so much money to pay for the big products. And if you just shrink the price of your software because you don't have to pay for the database, of course, it just more friendly to our customers and easier for them to get to that idea and buy our software. So we just decided to use Interface 6 open source as a database and started the development. And in 2 years, actually, Firebird has arrived. And I was just interested, I became interested in the source code. I started to recall my C++ skills, and it was interesting whether I could improve something in Firebird that our application could benefit from. Some features that doesn't exist, but we need that. And this way, I was become more and more involved in the Firebird source code.
Do you remember who were the core developers in that time?
Yes, maybe not everyone, but a lot of them. Of course, Claudio. I remember John Bellardo, Mark O'Donoghue. I remember Mike Nordell. And maybe someone else I don't remember. Of course, Anne and Jim.
Yes. Vlad was there yet?
Not Vlad and Alex. Actually, Alex, as far as I remember, Alex joined first, then Vlad. It happened during the Firebird 1.5 development, so quite early. Actually, we had a kind of organizational problem, maybe. Well, you know that when the Firebird project had forked the original interface code, we have developed Firebird 1.0 with a lot of bug fixes and small features. And after that, the existing developers have decided to switch the code base from plain C to C++.
Yeah, I remember.
And they have started this work. It was actually enormous amount of work, because many, well, almost every single line of code should be revisited and maybe changed. I kind of completed that. And then, well, those guys had less and less time to work on Firebird code. And exactly that time, I was trying to build Firebird myself. Well, and discovered that their work is really great was done, but it wasn't finished, because the engine either doesn't compile or compiles but crashes in simpletons and so on. So we have just lost the whole stability, the whole reliability of the first Firebird version, and we had to fix all these issues before we can move forward. So actually, maybe the first year of Firebird 1.5 development was devoted to fixing bugs and finalizing the conversion to C++. And the other guys started to come in. Alex, Vlad, Claudio was still active that time. We together, after that, was starting to develop new features, when we already have the established and more or less stable code base.
Well, actually, it would be my next question to ask you how you joined in Firebird, but you already answered, so I will skip it. And
I might just add just a few lines if you wish.
Okay, sure.
When I was learning the code base, the first feature that was interesting for our company, the company I worked in, well, the funny thing, yes, there will be a very funny thing. It's just parameters in events. The feature that exists in our bug tracker since the very beginning. And we needed it done. And I developed it. I provided a patch for review. And well, my patch was declined, so it was rejected. Well, it was really, I was really upset at that time. But the good thing is that I was told why it was rejected. And okay. After that, I understood the whole architecture of Firebird events. And now I know why it's not going to happen at all. At least with the current events API. If they decide to change it, it could be possible, but not with the current API.
Is the issue still in the bug tracker?
No, yes.
I will resurrect it.
It should still be open, yes, and waiting. And it's actually one of the top voted features, I believe.
I will vote for it. I will vote for it. It's a good feature. But I understand why it's not possible with the current API. So.
It was pity actually, but not everyone really understands why. Now I see why people don't understand that, because it was a surprise for me too.
And what was the most difficult feature that are already implemented in Firebird? You specifically implemented it.
Oh, there were many of them. From the recent ones, of course, it's replication, but it's going to happen in Firebird 4. From the beginning, in the beginning, I was mostly developing SQL language extensions. Many of them, actually a lot of them, and built-in functions and so on. Then when, well, you should remember Arno Brinkman.
Yeah, sure.
Our optimizer guy.
Yes, yes.
And when he left the project, didn't have time to participate, I just took his responsibilities for the optimizer, and now I'm the optimizer developer myself.
You are in charge of the optimizer now.
Yes, yes. The whole monitoring infrastructure, again. Well, that's about big things, because, well, you know, actually, big things are visible, but you spend more time actually on bug fixing and some small things that are not that public.
That's true. Totally true. Yeah. Let me see another question that people sent to me. Would you change, regarding Firebird, of course, would you change any decision made in the past?
I don't think so. Of course, we had some mistakes, but, well, you know, people are learning on their mistakes. So they also have some value to remember about that in the future. So I don't think we have made any bad decisions. Some maybe decisions could just, if we done it another way, it would save us some time, for example, in implementing some things. But no, I don't regret anything in general.
Good.
Because I just think that every experience is good, even bad experience, and just useful.
Learn from it.
Maybe not good, but useful.
Yeah, that's correct. Right. There is a question not really related to Firebird, but people are asking, what kind of, if you watch TV, what kind of series or movies you enjoy watching?
Well, not movies. I don't know why actually, but I more prefer TV series recently during the last years. And sometimes I even think that they are so much growing in quality that they are very often better than most of the regular movies that you can see.
And what kind? Comedies, action?
Yeah, actually, a lot of them. Maybe for the last couple of months, I have seen 10 TV series, whole seasons. So, it's really hard to just name one or two.
Regarding the time you were in Brazil, what are the most differences you saw between Brazilians and Russians?
I was surprised that the difference was not huge at all.
Oh, great.
Sometimes I really thought that Russian and Brazilian people have a lot of things in common. They are pretty much, they behave the same in many situations. And because, well, you know, neither Russia nor Brazil in the top 10 of the good economic countries.
Yeah.
Well, so how people are living is more or less the same, actually. This also could make me to the such thought that we are really similar. It's why it was so surprising, mostly because, well, I have never been there before, and because, well, the countries, they're just too much different. You have a lot of sun in Brazil, you have a lot of fruits, everything is green and so on. Well, you know what Russia is. It may look more or less the same during 3 months per year, yeah. But the rest of them, it looks completely different. Yeah. But it was surprising that people more or less the same. It was not shocking, of course, but something not really expected.
Oh, let me see another one. Beer, vodka, or black tea?
Green tea.
Green tea?
Chinese green tea. But I like coffee as well. It just depends on my day. But I don't drink black tea, for example.
Well, you're different than Alexei, for example.
Yes. I wasn't really much of a fan of coffee before I went to Brazil.
Really?
After that, you remember, I was buying packs of Brazilian coffee together with me, and it just changed my life dramatically. I started to enjoy good coffee, and it's still the same, but after some time, I just make a small shift to the Chinese tea, and now enjoy both from time to time.
About beer, what is your favorite kind of beer?
I like again, it depends because now it's really hot, and I would prefer some small alcohol kinds, maybe some lagers like Pilsner, for example, or like, well, this one, this Gold Ale by Witchwood. Another day, I may choose, for example, some dark ales like London Pride and something like that. Sometimes I may even try something stronger from the Belgium, for example. So not a particular preference. I like many beers. Just switch between them.
Okay, there is a funny one here. Drinking before, after, or during programming?
After.
After? Okay.
After. I have some experience in drinking during the programming. It's actually fun. It's absolutely fun. But the results are not really as I would prefer them to be.
Yeah, so, I know what I mean. Yeah. There is another funny one here. In Brazil, when you say you are a programmer, and you say that to your relatives, your cousins, your neighbor, people think you are the guy who fixes the printers, the computers, and everything related. Is it the same in Russian?
Yeah, absolutely the same here.
Or maybe this is a global problem. So
it doesn't make any difference whether you say that you are IT person, software developer, programmer. Do you work with computers? Yes, fix it, please.
Yeah, the same here, the same. Have you ever run delete without where in a production database?
No, me not.
No, but you see someone who did.
But I had some similar experience when I was working, well, as I said, in my first jobs, I was developing software, but we were also providing support and extensions for some big ERP software existing, but it allowed modifications only inside the database. It was an Oracle database, so the whole business logic was put into stored procedures. It was, as far as I remember, 8,000 of stored procedures, and any improvements you can make. You just put there, create tables and patch their stored procedures to do something different. And one day we just done something wrong. And Oracle has such a feature that if you compile some stored procedures the wrong way, so it cannot work, it invalidates it. It is marked as invalid. That's pretty much okay, with one small difference, because Oracle also invalidates the whole call stack of that procedure. And it was a quite low-level core stored procedure that we failed to fix properly, and 6,000 out of 8,000 totally stored procedures were marked as invalid and couldn't be run without error. And it was done on the production database.
Oh, God.
Yes, so we had a script to revalidate all the procedures, but it took 2 or 3 hours to complete. And during that time, nobody was able to work with the database.
Okay, so some people were not
the same.
Yeah. So you spoke about Oracle.
Yeah.
So you know Firebird, of course. You know Oracle. Do you have experience dealing with another database?
PostgreSQL.
Postgres, okay.
But I don't have any experience as a client-side developer, as application developer. I was learning Postgres when I was already working full-time on Firebird.
Okay.
Because we have many similar things in the architecture and in the SQL engine. Their source code is open. So I just needed to check something there, here, then learn something, how it's done in their engine. And finally, I was able to use it at the user level as well, to execute scripts, install and so on. Not maybe kind of guru in PostgreSQL, but have some experience.
That's
in the past, I was also working with Microsoft SQL Server, but only 6 months, so I wouldn't say I'm an expert.
Okay, great. And the last question, what can you tell us about Firebird 4 in the next weeks or months? What is planned?
Yes. Right now, we are preparing Firebird 3.0.6 for release. All the changes are committed. I have updated the documentation today. I'm going to tag the tree on Monday. So it should be released a few days after that. And then we switch to release candidate 1 of Firebird 4. Of course, it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen in June, so probably July.
Okay. So there will be no
I really expected the release candidate to be released in June, so that we could, well, you know, fingers crossed, release the final version in August. It's still possible if we release a release candidate in July, early July, but we'll see how it's going to happen. Actually, not so many changes are waiting to be committed into release candidate 1. Some fixes, the monitoring support for application, and some minor adjustments in the engine. So this still could be doable, but let's see. Well, you know, the problem actually arises when we release release candidate. The first release candidate, people start testing it. Nobody tests alphas, betas, and so on. And they report about bugs. We have to fix them, release the next release candidate. As far as I remember, if you remember Firebird 1.5, we had almost 10 release candidates.
Oh, I don't know.
Every month, we were fixing bugs and release new candidates every month. Whoa. And it took almost the whole year. But now the code is much more stable. And let's see how much people will be testing new features, because I don't really expect problems with old features, but of course there may be problems with new features. But this is not a showstopper. You are just wait for the next point release when it's fixed, and then just use these new features, not now, but in a few months later. Not a big problem. So I would really hate to repeat the same experience with 10 release candidates.
Do you know if the truncate table will be available in Firebird 4?
Oh,
it's in the traffic for a long time and it's being postponed.
Yes. Well, honestly, I don't think so. Just because I have the patch ready, we have discussed it with Vlad. But one of the problem is it wasn't widely tested. Also, there was some requests to test it, and I provided it, but I never got a feedback. And part of the problem that it has some implementation limitations that may not really that people are not going to like. So we need to carefully think about them, maybe change something and so on. I just don't want to throw out partially done feature that may annoy some. Sure. So it works, it's reliable, but it's just not, it's not about being ideal, but it's not about useful in its current state. So I'm going to start a discussion about that in the development mailing list so that everyone could see the problem and participate and how to fix them. If we could end with some agreement during some period of time, limited of course, perhaps it could be included into Firebird 4. But if not, it will be delayed, but not to Firebird 5, but to the first sub-release.
Good. So I still have hope.
Yes, I hope it too, because I have spent my time developing it.
Great. Okay, I think I finished the list of questions and we already passed the desired time, the planned time. And I would like to thank you very much for participating in the first interview of the series, the Developers.Pub series. I hope we can talk again, maybe personally in the next FTD. Probably not this year.
Let's see how the world will survive after all this prep.
That's a good question to all of us, right? Thank you again, Dmitry. Nice to talk to you and be safe.
Thank you, Carlos. Nice to see you. I hope so too.
And don't forget to finish your beer. My one is a refill.
Yeah.